Welcome to Apple. Calls are recorded for evaluation, to train personnel, and to improve contact center technologies. I'm an automated system that can handle complete sentences. So tell me, how can I help you today?
Icloud.
Okay, I'll get you right over to our technical support department.
You've been transferred to Apple support. I may ask you to repeat some of the information you've already given. Calls are recorded for evaluation to train personnel and improve contact center technologies. To securely verify your identity, I'd like to send a consent notification to your Apple devices. Do I have your permission to do that?
Yes.
Okay, I've sent the message. In a few words, please tell me why you're calling.
Icloud purchase.
Are you having trouble logging into or accessing iCloud?
No.
Thanks. After you're finished with the advisor, can we text you a link to a brief survey? Carrier rates may apply.
Yes.
I see you're calling from a number ending in 3633. Is that the mobile phone where you'd like us to text a link to the survey?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll send you a message for the survey in a moment. Let me get someone to help you. Apple's warranty coverage is in addition to your rights provided by consumer law. Warranty, privacy policy, and privacy rights information are available at apple.com/legal. Please hold.
Hello there. Thank you for reaching out to Apple. My name is Joshua. Can I please have your first and last name?
My name is Omar Mohsen Ibrahim Fuad.
Thank you so much for that. How can I help you today?
My iCloud 2 terabyte is full. I need to purchase another iCloud in addition to the iCloud that I already have.
Gotcha. There's not going to be a way to do that, so in this case, we might want to look into our options to move some things out of iCloud onto a computer.
There is
2
a way
terabyte
to do
storage
that.
plan's the biggest one they got.
But there is a way to do that. It just I have to have one main iCloud and then an additional iCloud.
So you want to make a whole new Apple ID?
Yeah.
Okay. In that case, go ahead and open up your web browser.
So will I have both Apple IDs though?
I mean, I don't know what you mean by have. What do you mean by have? Like, do you mean signed in on your device? Because you can only sign in with one account at once on a device.
Right. So if I can only have one iCloud on one Apple ID, then could I have more than one Apple ID?
Yeah,
So
that's why I was sending you to that website. That's why I asked you to go to your web browser. I'm helping you make a new Apple ID.
Okay, but my existing Apple ID, Omar Fuad Global at iCloud.com, I'm still going to have that one though, right? I just have to log
Yeah, I mean, it's not
it.
going anywhere unless you go out of your way to submit a deletion request somewhere. But, I mean, that's a really involved process. That's not something you could do accidentally.
Okay. All right. Perfect. You said go to what website?
Go to appleid.apple.com.
Okay.
Once you're on that website, in the top right corner, you'll see a down arrow next to the sign in button, and that down arrow will have a create Apple ID button under it.
You said in the top right hand corner, the two lines?
In the top right hand corner of the appleid.apple.com website, there's a blue sign in button, and next to it there's a down arrow that you can tap in order to create your Apple ID as an option?
Okay, I typed in Apple ID.apple.com, and it took me to support.apple.com. Is that the right way?
Okay, in that case, just retype it in. It didn't take you to the right place. Make sure you're not typing in any spaces or anything like that.
You said Apple ID.apple.com. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Apple ID. Okay, all right, now it's on the right one. The down arrow. Okay.
And then choose Create an Apple ID, and then go ahead and make a new Apple ID here. Keep in mind, to make a new Apple ID, you're going to have an email to put on it, so you'll want to have an email ready to go to put on there. It can't be one that's already in use with another account.
Okay. How do I know if I don't remember what the? So I've got my Omar Fuad Global at iCloud.com. You mean like a Gmail address that I have or something? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, not necessarily Gmail specifically, but some other company other than Apple.
Okay, you mean like for like a verification email, or just like an email address in general, like other than Omar Fuad Global at iCloud.com?
Yeah, you're not going to be able to use an iCloud email for this step. The only way to get an iCloud email is to make a new account on a device that's not currently signed in with any account. So you would have to completely erase your device of your current account to make a new Apple ID that only has an iCloud email.
Hold on, wait, what? So I'm going to lose all of my information on my Omar Fuad Global at iCloud.com email?
There's definitely some kind of miscommunication, because no, that's not the case, and I didn't indicate that either. Okay, so to be clear, when you make a new Apple ID, there are two different ways to make an Apple ID. You can either A, make an Apple ID on a brand new device, or you can B, make an Apple ID from this website. Those are the only two ways to make an Apple ID. You either need to have a brand new device, or you need to use this website, right? Your Apple ID that you currently have that uses iCloud was one that would have been generated while making an Apple ID on a new device. So this Apple ID that you have right now is one that you would have made probably from the phone that you're using right now, or an earlier phone that you owned. And so that's how it allowed you to get an iCloud email for the Apple ID. Since you don't have an Apple device that's completely brand new, in order to do that method of making an Apple ID, we would have to erase this phone. So that's obviously not a good option, right?
Right.
So because of that, we're not going to be able to use that first method of making an Apple ID that could get you an iCloud email. Instead, we have to use the website, which requires you that you have an email of your own ready to go. So because of that, you need to have some other email other than an iCloud email, some email that's not in use with another Apple ID that you can add on here when making your account.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So, okay, I see what you're saying. Let me see. Okay, Omar. So do I? So for example, where it says, well, where it says this will be your new Apple ID. Do I type in my full Gmail address on there?
Yeah, for the Apple ID part, you want to type in an email address that you currently have access to.
Okay. And you're sure this is not going to erase anything off of my current iCloud, right?
That's correct. You're making a new Apple ID, not making any changes to the current one.
I just typed in duediligencecorporate@gmail.com. It says this email is not available. Choose a different one.
Gotcha. So that means that email address has already been used. It's not available.
Hold on.
So that would indicate that in some way, I'm not sure what way because I can't see this from my end, but in some way that email must be associated with your current Apple ID, and so it's not available for use.
Okay. Okay, let's try this again. It's saying I put omarfuedglobal@gmail.com and saying this email is not available. Choose a different address.
Gotcha. All right. In that case, one thing that we might want to try here, I just want to double check this. Are you making up new emails on the spot when you're typing them in, or are these emails that you already have?
No, these are emails that I already have.
Gotcha. Okay, so that just means that email is already in use with a different Apple ID. You can't use that one. Try using a different email.
That's impossible because I just put in two different Gmails that are not with my iCloud, and it's saying the same thing.
All right, let's try making a new email on the spot then. So go ahead and open up Gmail, make a new email address, then come back to this page and then type in that email address.
Okay. Okay. I signed in. It says I created a new Gmail saying Icloud number 2 at gmail.com.
All right, and then next we're just going to go back to that Apple ID website and make that new Apple ID using that email you made.
Okay. Well, it says I'm signed in.
On that Apple ID website?
On Apple ID, yeah.
What what email does it say you're signed in with?
One second. It says Apple ID, iCloud number 2 at gmail.com.
All right, awesome. So once you made that account successfully, it went ahead and signed you in. So next, in order to use the iCloud storage for this account, you'll need to go into the settings menu of your phone, sign in with that account instead of the account you currently have, and then you'll want to purchase an iCloud storage subscription. At that point, you're going to need to bounce back and forth between the two accounts depending on what you want to store in which account.
Okay. So I sign out of my Omar.
At this point, you would go into settings on your phone. You're going to see your name at the top. Tap on that. It'll take you to your Apple ID page. You're going to choose sign out at the bottom. It's going to tell you about all the information that's going to disappear from your phone when you sign out. That information is not being deleted. It's just not visible while you're not signed into that explicit account.
Okay. Enter the Apple ID password for omarfledglobal at icloud.com to turn off Find My iPhone. Okay. Keep a copy of your data on this phone. Data removed from this iPhone will still be available in iCloud. All items will be removed from wallet, card. Also permanently removed, and you will need to manually add them again. Okay. But I really hope this doesn't delete anything from my iCloud.
It's not going to be deleting anything from your iCloud. It's just going to stop being signed into that account on your phone, so your phone's not going to see any iCloud information from that account.
Okay. And then the pictures and videos and everything on my iPhone itself, my iPhone 14 Pro Max, 1 terabyte that I'm using right now, none of the pictures and videos or anything is going to be deleted, right?
This process is not going to delete any information from your iCloud storage account. Whatever happens to be stored in the phone is not going to go anywhere when you sign out because it's stored in the phone, not in your iCloud. Anything that's stored in the iCloud will disappear because you're no longer signed into that account, and you'll need to sign back into that account to start seeing it again.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for confirming that. I was just...
Yeah, no problem. It can be a little confusing, especially when you're mixing two accounts.
Yeah. Okay. And then let's see here. So how many iCloud accounts could I have?
I mean, technically, you can have an unlimited number of accounts, but that's generally frowned upon as it will lead to problems in the long term that make it really hard to manage either account. Like, if you happen to purchase something on one account but not on the other, you're only going to be able to re-download or update that app using the credentials for the account that originally purchased it. So if at any time in the future you ever lost access to one of these accounts, you would be unable to update or reinstall apps that it had bought. So I would just be careful to keep all your purchases to one account.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Let me see. So is there some kind of oh my god. Is there some kind of maybe upgrade I could get on my original iCloud account? So I can get more than 2 terabytes of memory?
That's not possible.
Because I heard
unfortunately, I already offered the best option, which is going to be to get a computer, download your stuff out of iCloud that's taking up the extra space that you don't use, and then you would just have more space in iCloud to start using from that point on, and start storing things that you really don't access anymore, like your oldest pictures and music, contacts, anything like that. Although the contacts really don't need to be moved out, but pictures and messages are what are going to take up the most space.
What I mean is cause I heard, like, for example, if I'm making music, there's an addition I could add to my current iCloud, so I could be able to get more memory for, like, music that I'm making and things like that.
Not that I've heard of ever. The maximum iCloud storage plan we offer is 2 terabytes.
So if I were, I'm trying to think of it. The previous
Who told
Apple,
you about that?
A previous Apple representative.
Do you remember if they were from a specific department, or would you have like a case number from when you spoke with them?
I don't remember, to be honest with you. They were from Apple. I'm trying to remember. They were definitely from Apple, but they mentioned that I could get, I think, up to like 4 or 6 or maybe 8 terabytes of memory. But that was if I was to get that specific type of account, to where like if I'd be making music and things like that, so I could have more memory on my iCloud.
I mean, I wish we had a specific support line just for music-related issues. That way I could potentially get you over to an advisor who would know more about that. But I'm actually part of both the billing team and the media services team, so I help with like subscriptions, iCloud services, App Store and iTunes services, billing issues. And I mean, I've never in 3 years of working this job ever heard of any kind of storage plan outside of the free 5 gigabytes, $50 gigabytes, $2.99, 200 gigabytes, or 2 terabyte deals.
So if I were to get a computer, what's the most memory I could get on my iCloud if I were to get a computer?
It's the same. The iCloud subscriptions that you get don't have anything to do with the device that you're getting.
Okay.
It's like if you had a Netflix subscription and you asked them, well, if I got a phone versus a TV, could I get a different Netflix subscription? They would say it's just all the same subscriptions. That's the exact same way that iCloud works.
So what was I going to say? What's the most memory I could get on an Apple computer?
Well, if you're talking about memory like storage outside of iCloud, that one I would have to get you over to Mac Specialist to figure out what the largest amount they've got on a computer is. But that doesn't have anything to do with iCloud storage.
Okay. I'm trying to think here. And then if I were to upgrade on this account to the 2 terabytes for $9.99 a month, I would just be paying $9.99 a month twice.
Correct.
Okay. And then I'll be able to switch from each iCloud account back and forth.
Yeah, you just sign out of the account that you're currently signed into and sign into the other one, and then you'll be accessing that account's iCloud storage.
Okay. Well, what if like, because I have my first iCloud account, the Omar Fuad Global at iCloud.com, that I'm paying $9.99 a month for, and that account has 2 terabytes of memory and it's full now. And I'm still paying $9.99 a month. I've been paying $9.99 a month for years. So what if I all of a sudden just stop paying $9.99 a month? Is it going to delete all of my stuff from my iCloud?
Yeah, you're going to get a 30-day grace period, and then at that point your storage is going to revert back to 5 gigabytes of storage.
And then what happens to all of my pictures and videos?
It's going to determine what it needs to get rid of to make room, and it picks that randomly, so you should remove everything before that happens.
When you say it determines, say that again?
It's an automated system. It's not a person. It's a robot, and we don't know what it chooses to get rid of. It gets rid of enough to make space. It's going to delete as much as it can until you have 5 gigabytes of storage left. So you should not leave it to the fates to see what gets deleted. That's not a good plan. The easiest and most efficient way for you to take care of this is just going to be to go to a friend or a family member who has a computer if you don't have your own. Plug a flash drive in, download old photos and videos and stuff out of iCloud to make room. That's going to be the best way to do this. That way you're not deleting anything. You still have it all, but it's not taking up extra space on your iCloud, and you can go back to saving things that are actually relevant.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. So could I use the same bank account for both iClouds that I'm paying $9.99 a month for the 2 terabytes of storage?
Yeah, you can have a payment method on as many different Apple IDs as you want.
So every time I try to change screens because I have my card on my phone, so every time I change screens to look at the number on the card on my phone to put it into the Apple screen, it disappears. Is there a way?
Okay, what happens if you just write it down in the meantime?
Hold on, I'll call it a pen and paper. Man, it's costing me a lot of money. I spent more than $30,000 in the past 6 months just to be able to keep up with police brutality lawsuits and lawsuits that involve a hospital killing my son.
Jesus, well, I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, when somebody is suing a police department and a hospital and things like that, they have ways to retaliate against the person without them even, being able to do anything other than suing them and documenting what they're doing to them in the process. And they're aware that the person that's suing them is able to do that, so they make it very difficult for the person to continue to be able to keep up with all of that. They try to exhaust the person of all their resources. They try to drain them from all their money, and they cause them a lot of mental anguish. And
yeah, definitely.
It's just they call it a desperate defense, because in the United States of America, when somebody who files a claim in court, in the United States courts, complaint, a claim, a civil case, anything like that, or anything in the United States courts, and the person who's filing their claim has clear and convincing evidence proving what they're saying beyond a reasonable doubt, they win. And in my case, I have clear and convincing evidence proving what I'm saying far beyond a reasonable doubt, which means I automatically win. When somebody has picture and video evidence and documentation stating and proving clearly and convincingly what they're saying is true, that's clear and convincing evidence proving their claim far beyond a reasonable doubt, and that allows the person to automatically win. And in the United States courts, by way of a judge's oath, they know that from, their by way of their oath. And that's specifically that when a person who's filing a claim has clear and convincing evidence proving what they're saying far beyond a reasonable doubt, they automatically win. And all they need is clear and convincing evidence proving what they're saying beyond a reasonable doubt to win. So being that I have clear and convincing evidence proving what I'm saying beyond a reasonable doubt and far beyond a reasonable doubt, I automatically win, because picture evidence and video evidence and documentation doesn't lie. There's a difference between somebody who files a lawsuit and is writing down on paper that somebody did something to them that violated their rights, but they don't have any picture evidence or video evidence or documentation stating, what they're saying is true. That type of case is a little more difficult to prove. That case would have to go in front of a jury. The jury would have to decide if the person is lying. The jury would have to, look at other different types of evidences, patterned evidence, historical evidence, different other types of things to determine if what the person is claiming happened to them is true or not. Or when somebody has, picture and video evidence and documentation.
It's a good thing you got all that evidence, that's for sure.
Yeah, right. And it's I literally have more than 200,000 forms of pictures. See how many videos on here.
Not to stop you from talking about this if you still want to, but why are you telling me all this, man? It kind of seems like a sensitive issue. I feel like this is something you'd want to keep under wraps until you got your court case done.
Be honest with you, man, I've reached out to so many different, participating agencies for help, and I haven't really been able to get any help. So the only way I figured I'd be able to protect myself and possibly get help one day is, being vocal about it. So I have also more than like 5,000 videos.
Have you thought about making a YouTube channel? You could publicly document all this stuff, and then that way it would be something that would be a lot more accessible to other people. Like you could just link them, like everything, really.
Yeah, I've got like 10 different YouTube channels with my full name, Omar Mohsen Ibrahim Fouad. They've got so many videos of exactly what I'm talking about. So I don't know what else to do, man. I've got Facebook pages, I've got Instagrams, I got YouTube, and it's all my name.
Have you started like a Patreon?
What is it called?
A Patreon or like a GoFundMe, like one of those ways where people can donate and help?
Yeah, I started a GoFundMe also. Started a GoFundMe. That was about a few weeks ago, though, or a couple weeks ago.
Gotcha.
That's when I finally found a lawyer here in Tallahassee who was willing to help me, and he said I have to pay him $1,500 a month for 10 months, and it's really expensive. I was able to give him $1,500 cash the first day that I met him. I'm hoping maybe we could kind of get something resolved soon, and then I could win the case and then pay him some percentage out of that, being that I can't afford to give him $1,500 a month every month for 10 months. It's really overwhelming, man. It's also very depressing as well, man, because not only did it affect me, it affected my family too. Because my family's witnessing how much effort I'm putting in to try to fully recover from these injuries, and the situation involving the police injuring me, police attempting to murder me rather, and then my son being killed at a hospital. And it bothers them also. It caused them to lose quality of their life. They lost time. They lost a lot of business opportunities and things like that because of the fact that it's obviously negatively affecting them, and it's also negatively affecting me. So it's one thing after the other. It's just like anything that's considered to be a necessary living necessity in life. Like, for example, when somebody purchases groceries or healthy food rather, they know that that's a necessary living necessity, because without food or healthy food, they're gonna die.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's a necessary living necessity. And it's a difference between, for example, somebody being injured and needing, the proper resources to be able to afford, the proper medical attention to fully recover from their injuries. And there's a difference between somebody not being able to afford the medical attention that they need to fully recover their injuries. It's a necessary living necessity, especially when they have a family, especially when they have a future, especially when they have children that depend on them, and them being able to fully recover because the children are young and they need their parents. So it's a necessary living necessity not only for the person that's injured, the parents, but it's also a necessary living necessity for the children and their family, because, like, for example, in my situation, I have injuries to my neck, my back, my lower extremities, and I'm still trying to fully recover from these injuries so I could, once again, be productive again and, make money and provide for my children so, I can make sure they have every opportunity in life. and that they're financially secure and safe. And I'm not able to do that because they haven't given me monetary relief yet, so I could afford, the quality medical attention that I need, the quality medical care that I need so I could fully recover. But what they're finding it more important to do, instead of giving me monetary relief so I could get the medical attention and medical care that I need to fully recover, they're finding it more important to just continue to harass me, to continue to exhaust all my resources, to continue to manipulate, every pattern of evidence that is forming, that's clear and convincing, just so they don't get in trouble because they violated something called U.S. Code Chapter 18, Statute 1513, and that's a retaliation statute. It states that if anybody from who is a government employee tries to cover up any kind of evidence of a crime that they committed and it causes someone to get injured, that carries a maximum of 25 years in prison. And in the police brutality case, there was more than one police officer who was involved in the police brutality, and they all tried to cover it up together. And I have evidence proving that. So they're doing things to go out of their way just to make sure that, I'm not able to finish the cases so they don't have to go to prison. And they just created one problem after the next. And they know how to do this from experience to people because they've done this so many times and they've gotten sued so many times. They know how to manipulate, people from specific demographic areas to an extent that, it's going to result in the same type of situation every time, which benefits the police department. They know,
right, like people like me who don't necessarily have a lot of money or anything like that.
Exactly. They know, specific people from specific demographic areas. They only have a certain level of education based on historical patterned evidence. They only have, access to a specific type of food that is grown in a specific area by specific doctors and specific scientists that put specific chemicals in vegetables, that give specific animals specific types of feed and things like that. And they know, the influence that it has on that demographic area, the feelings that people get, and the trajectory of their thought process by eating those foods in those specific demographic areas. So they know what type of decisions they make. They know more than likely what they're going to be focused on more than other things. They look at all those different things, and they look at the person's age. They look at the person's education level. They look at the person's financial status. They look at the person's, family history. They look at the person's resources. They look at, who is helping this person, who has helped this person, where those specific people came from, their demographic grid, and all those different things. So they're able to narrow all this down and have a long-term plan ahead of time, far more advanced than what just an average person like myself would be able to realize in a instant's notice, as they would be able to with the technology that they have. Something like that would take me a long time to be able to write down and draft and patternize and all those things, and they're able to do that instantaneously with the push of a button. So they have all this stuff strategized and planned out, and I'm literally just stuck, just having to spend all my money just documenting everything that they're doing to me, hoping one day somebody will be able to help me. And God forbid if I die from it, which I've almost died several times from this situation of me trying to resolve these cases, at least I'll have, the evidence proving it, so my children and my family could at least have the evidence proving it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's
definitely
so
got to gather as much information as you can. Getting a computer would probably be a pretty big investment for you, because just having some way to plug in external storage gives you unlimited storage options, because you can just always buy another external hard drive and hook that in.
Yeah, you'll be surprised, man. Before I was working off of just 256 gigabytes of memory on my iPhone 11. They were
I couldn't do that.
harassing
My
me.
computer's got like 7 terabytes of storage.
Yeah, so what I mean is when I only had a limited amount of resources and I only had 256 gigabytes of memory on my iPhone 11, and they knew that I didn't have any money to be able to afford any other kind of device with more storage, and I only had the 2 terabytes of iCloud storage, and they knew that my phone was being hacked and malfunctioning and things like that, and they were harassing me in accordance with that. And then it was really bad, man. Like I was literally on the phone with Apple constantly, asking them for help because I was trying to, upload things from my physical device to my iCloud because my iPhone wasn't recording videos. It wasn't documenting things because my iPhone itself was full. But I still had memory on my iCloud. So if you look at on Apple, how many times I've called in the past for support for my iCloud, you could see that I've called and complained several times and asked for help. And then finally, when I was able to purchase a iPhone 14 with 1 terabyte of memory, the harassment stopped. Like literally almost instantaneously. And that's because I was able to continue to document what they're doing, and I already had so much patterned evidence just on my iCloud already and my iPhone 11 proving what I'm saying. They knew it was in their best interest to kind of just like back off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was all police officers affiliates, police officers' friends. It was really bad, man. And it's still happening, but it's not happening as bad as it was. And I was in South Florida at the time where this happened, and I literally had to move from South Florida because of how much they were harassing me. And I moved all the way to Tallahassee, Florida, the capital, figuring out, hoping that I'd be safer here because I'd be in an area that's considered to be the capital of Florida, and there's more government entities and municipalities. And I was just hoping that maybe they'd be doing their job properly here in the capital instead of, high traffic tourist areas like South Florida, where I was in Miami and in Broward County. It's a lot of corruption down there in South Florida.
Well, I don't want to disparage a whole state, but certainly my plan is to get up enough money to buy a 5-acre lot out in the middle of the woods, out in the middle of nowhere, and then live my life cutting wood.
Yeah, that's definitely something I was considering also, man. I was actually considering purchasing some land and growing my own vegetables and having my own farm, raising my own animals and things like that, and just, eating halal foods.
Yeah, and you could take care of your whole life with just rainwater and electricity through solar panels. You could power modern amenities. You could still have TV and lights and coffee in the morning and laundry machines. You just be off the grid. That's my goal.
Yeah. It's at this point, it's a necessary living necessity, to be honest with you, even though it's already acknowledged for those specific, necessary living necessities and tasks to be a necessary living necessity. It's become a necessary living necessity in its entirety, being that, all of the necessary living necessities that a person needs to live is being taken advantage of, and it's deceitfully being manipulated just to benefit complete strangers, who are, committing crimes on a global scale, like especially in high traffic tourist areas like, South Florida, Orlando, where Disney World is, and in many places, New York, California, where there's a lot of high traffic areas, where there's a lot of high traffic tourist areas, because it's looked at from a business perspective by criminals, and it generates so much money that people are scared to even speak up about it. And a lot of the times, people have been working for companies that are within those high traffic tourist areas for 10, 20, 30 plus years, and they're depending on their jobs to pay their bills, to provide for their families, and they have mortgages a lot of the times, they have car notes, they have insurance, they have different types of expenses, and they're also expecting a pension from a lot of those companies that they've been at for so long. And they know that, the company that they've been working at for so long, there's a lot of corruption within those companies, but they also know that if they say anything, they might be retaliated against. They might be physically hurt. They might just be fired. Any of those things will put, their lives in general in jeopardy. They might not be able to pay their bills. God forbid they might be physically assaulted or anything like that. And then that just creates even more problems. So a lot of the times those people, they just stay quiet about it and just do their job and be quiet. But little do they know, if they were to say something about it, it would make the world of difference.
Definitely, man.
Especially for the future generations, like our young children, because the fact that people aren't speaking up about it, it's affecting our future generations. It's affecting our children's generations because it's continuing to empower the corruption and the reoccurring criminal activity that's been, documented for decades, and it's continuing to be documented. And that's only because it's continuing to reoccur. So the main people that are being affected are the younger children because they're depending on their elders to protect them. But in all actuality, their elders are being taken advantage of, and they're being satisfied by these, corrupt entities and municipalities of city and state government, their participating agencies, corrupt corporations that are affiliated and or not directly affiliated in plain sight. And they're just, given things just to keep them satisfied and quiet. And children are not able to acknowledge that. They look up to their parents and they see them, eating food, driving a car, living in a house, and in that same area they'll be commuting, and then they'll see a homeless person on the street begging for money. So they'll think, okay, their family is doing the right thing, their family is in good shape, their family is protecting them. But in all actuality, they're being taken advantage of even more than their parents and their elders and their family is being taken advantage of. And I know this from experience, and it just really bothers me because I've got a 2-year-old daughter and a 15-year-old daughter. And I know from personal experience that, it's necessary for me to do things like get my law degree and my medical degree, for example, which I'm pursuing now here in Tallahassee. And I know that it's important from experience because of everything that has happened to me and me depending on someone else with a law degree and a medical degree to help me and not being able to find someone with a law degree and or a medical degree to help me. So I know from experience and from a personal perspective as a father and a Muslim that it's important for me to have a law degree and a medical degree to protect my daughters and my family as well as my peers. So it really bothers me to know that these types of things are happening and they've been acknowledged, but they're, the situation is being looked at as if, they're not going to help the victims because the people who are committing these crimes are affiliated with the government or affiliated with friends of people who are affiliated with the government. And, it's really it's a very serious crime that they're committing. Like I said, it's a violation of U.S. Code Chapter 18, Statute 1513, retaliation against a victim, witness, or informant. And it's also a violation of Statute 766.110. And those are very serious violations. And people don't want to get in trouble for stuff like that because, I mean, who wants to go to prison for 25 years of their life?
Right.
And now all of a sudden you're seeing Trump getting indicted and having to go to federal prison and all this stuff. And it's like, really? Like they didn't realize that the world was in bad shape with all the decades of documented evidence that people are complaining about. I mean, they're just now deciding to broadcast, multi-billion-dollar invested names of people being, quote unquote, held accountable for things that they might have done or things that, have happened, and only because, they have a multi-billion-dollar invested name and things, they're the best person to, broadcast on major news sources as the person being responsible. Like, it's just, at the end of the day, it all comes down to if somebody does their job properly, what a person expects from that specific service, from that job, is going to be, what is expected. But if a person doesn't do their job properly, and they're expecting a service from that specific job, what they're going to receive as a service from that specific job is not going to be what they are expecting.
Yeah.
You understand? So it's just that simple. It's like for example, if I were to call you, which I did today for help, and say, hey, my iCloud's full, I need a new iCloud, and you were to say, hey, Omar, go fuck yourself. I'm not going to help you get another iCloud because I know you want to sue the police. That means you wouldn't be doing your job properly, and that's not what I would be expecting. You understand?
Right.
In all actuality, you did your job properly because you said, hey, Omar, here's another option for you. You can just make another iCloud. Another email address, and you could get another iCloud. So you could continue to document what you need to document on your iCloud, on a new iCloud. And you would have your old iCloud with all of your pictures and videos. So that's what I mean. Like if you didn't do your job properly, the situation would get worse. You understand? And then that would ultimately affect my children. Then that would ultimately affect my family. Then that would ultimately affect our future. Then that would ultimately affect my peers and my family's peers' future. You understand?
Right. It's like the butterfly effect. That's why I try and do my job the best I can. I wish I could make everybody else do their job, but unfortunately there's just no making some people do things. So best I can do is take care of me and my direct family. I take care of my mom. She's getting really old now. I don't have any kids or anything like that, so I don't know what my plans for the future are, but I take care of her. That's all that matters to me for the most part.
Man, the best thing you could do in that type of situation is hold on to your money, man. Hold on to every single penny. When you get money in your hand, brother, hold on to it as if your life depends on it. You understand what I'm saying? I'm so
Absolutely.
serious, man.
I'll save all the money I can.
Yeah, that's it, man. Don't let nobody scam you. Don't fall victim to temporary bliss and temptation, because that's all that is pleasure that's paid for. Don't fall victim to what's trending and things like that, because it's all a part of a marketing scheme that is going to benefit the same type of people that I'm talking to you about. Specifically people's friends, and a lot of the time those people's friends are criminals, but the who they're friends of are people who are creating those marketing schemes and things like that for, large scale corporations and things like that, are responsible for a lot of what's trending. And a lot of what's trending is negatively affecting people. And people are just overlooking that because they're witnessing that, hey, everybody else enjoys it, everybody else is looking at it. Why not? Why shouldn't I look at it? I mean, there's nothing else for me to look at. You know what I mean? And they make it that way. They make it to where there's nothing else to be trending. There's nothing else to look at. There's nothing else for somebody to do in their spare time, you know what I mean, to entertain themselves. But in all actuality, they should be, broadcasting and glamorizing more things that are healthy. Like, for example, people doing healthy things, people making healthy investments.
That's what I like doing.
What?
I like camping. That's what I do for fun.
Camping.
I go out we got a lot of woods around here, so I just like to go out in the woods and just camp out, go fishing, and just hang out.
Yeah, man, that's probably one of the healthiest things you could do. You know what I mean? You're away from all the different toxic environments, and things like that, and you're around nature. The air is cleaner. Especially if you're fishing for your own food or hunting for your own food, it's healthier that way. You cook your own food, it's healthier that way. Instead of just relying on specific demographic areas, scientists who are in charge of growing vegetables, and specific demographic areas, doctors who are in charge of raising animals and slaughtering them and putting them on specific shelves in demographic areas. A lot of the time, those doctors and scientists don't get along with each other, and people don't realize that. But the people who do, you'll notice that they get their vegetables from one area and they'll get their meat from another area. And that's because they're aware of, the circumstances surrounding their demographic area. And a lot of the times, like I was saying, the doctors and scientists don't get along because they have completely different agendas. And their investors don't get along with each other because they know that the chemicals that they put in those specific vegetables are going to, have that demographic area feeling a specific way and, making specific types of decisions based on, how they're influenced by those vegetables that they're eating with those specific chemicals that they're putting in those vegetables to grow them. And then the same thing for the doctors. The doctors don't get along with the scientists' agenda a lot of the times because, the scientists don't get along with the doctors' agendas a lot of the times because they know that the specific feed that they're feeding the animals before they slaughter them and put them on specific shelves in specific demographic areas is going to make, the people that consume that meat feel a certain way and make specific types of decisions based on, the influence that they get from the feelings that they receive after eating those specific types of meat that, are raised a specific type of way with that specific type of feed that is fed to the animals before they're slaughtered, put on shelves. And so they, it's a very serious situation that a lot of the time people just overlook because, they're just like, what are they going to do about it? You know what I mean? They're living paycheck to paycheck a lot of the time, or, they're being harassed the same way, they're being exhausted from their resources, they're being manipulated, they're being targeted, they're, being taken advantage of, they're falling victim to, online payment scams and things that surround those types of criminal activities and criminals who conduct those crimes. So it's a very well thought out crime, organized crime. And sometimes there's entire neighborhoods that are in on it. Sometimes there are entire, areas that are in on it, and people don't realize it. And the people who do, sometimes they're just scared to do anything about it because, they haven't found enough people to stand up for the same thing that is, negatively affecting them so they could stop. Me personally, I've been going through it for so many years. I'm looking at it from a perspective of, I have no choice but to try to stop it. And, if somebody's going to take my life for trying to stop it, they better just take my life, or I'm going to continue to try to stop it. And, they've tried to scare me so many different ways. I mean, they've tried to food poison me. They've tried to kill me. They tried to attempt to murder me physically. They've tried to do so many different things. And, it's as if they're just trying to see how far they could push me to try to make me stop, trying to, eliminate the crimes that they're committing. And, what's clear also is that they have a lot of experience in doing that. And so it's just a matter of, them either taking my life or not. And if they don't, then I'm going to continue to try to stop them. So I made this iCloud. I'm going to go ahead and pay for another 2 terabytes of memory. So it's going to be $20 a month that I'm paying for. $9.99 for this iCloud that I made today with the name iCloud number 2 at gmail.com, and the iCloud that I previously made, which I still have, with the name Omar Fouad Global at iCloud.com, that I'm also paying $9.99 a month for 2 terabytes of memory that is full now. So I'm going to write down my bank information on my other iPhone so I could put it into my iPhone 14. Okay. Okay, upgrade to iCloud Plus. 2 terabytes, $9.99 a month. Upgrade. Subscribe. Okay. Verification required. Okay, continue. Okay. Okay. 2 terabytes of storage. You spent $9.99 at Apple. Okay, so I spent the $9.99 at Apple. You have a new card on file available for Apple Pay. Okay. Continue. Continue. Okay. Okay. Okay, complete verification. Okay, open Cash App. Okay. Okay. Cash card is ready for Apple. Alright. Okay. 228 KB of 2 terabytes used. Okay, so now I have my second iCloud account with 2 terabytes of memory. Thank you very much for your help, sir. I really appreciate it, and I hope you do everything right by your mom. Don't forget what I mentioned, man. Just stay focused on your priorities and save as much money as possible, and try your best not to fall victim to all these different types of forms of temporary bliss and temptation that is really worthless at the end of the day. Most important thing is your future, your health, your family, and just try to do right by your mom. I promise you it's going to benefit you in the future.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you saying that, Omar. I hope everything goes well for you from here on out, for you and your family as well. I'm sorry to hear about everything that's happened so far.
Thank you for your concern, sir. I really appreciate that. And you enjoy the rest of your life, sir. You have a great time.
You too. Take care.
Indeed. Thank you. Bye.